Hey guys, this is Mr. Williams. So you guys are working asynchronously today, so you're not going to be meeting with me, but I am leaving you this video so you guys can get the notes, because what we're working on today is the next 2 pages of this packet of notes that I gave you, and then I will give you an assignment after this. So let's get into the notes. Vocab word number 15 is angle. And you guys have heard the word angle before, but now we're using the geometric definition of angle. So an angle is made by 2 rays that have the same initial endpoint. The sides, are the rays, and the vertex is the initial point. So just think of like 2 rays that come together to form an angle. I mean, you guys have seen an angle before. So let me draw an angle. So here is an angle. And it's going to have something like that. And I will also add, let's say, that's X. We're going to put Y here. We're going to put Z up here. And then right here, I'm also going to add, let's say, 5. So the 5 is not the degrees of the angle. It is a way that we name an angle. So you won't often see angles named with numbers, but sometimes you will. And on the sheet we're doing later, no, okay, I thought there was something about that, but I think it's the quiz for next week that you'll see an angle measured or labeled with a number. So, yeah, the ways we can name this, I could call this 5, or I could call this angle, and you want to draw that little angle symbol every time, and no matter how big the angle is, you always want to draw the symbol exactly like that. And angle X, Y, Z. Or another thing I could name this angle is angle Z, Y, X, because that tells me that I have it starting at Z, the middle point is the Y, and then it goes to X. Or it starts at X, the middle point is the Y, and it goes to Z. I cannot have X or Z in the middle of the name. All right. So that was an angle, and now we have an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle that measures between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. Yeah, that's really it. So what this means is it's just going to be like a sharp angle, pretty much. So it's going to look like, I should make it bigger. So here's our angle. And this one, I will still give it points and a little angle thing inside it. But there is no real way to name an acute angle. So there's no specific way. It's just the exact same way as you would label an angle. So no matter what I name my points, it is going to have the exact same name as any other angle. And then we have a right angle, which is an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. So a right angle, let's see if I can draw this. So a right angle is going to look like that. Okay, that was pretty good. All right, and we use a little square thing to denote that this is a right angle. If you see a curve inside, even if it looks like a right angle, then it is not a right angle. So this is a right angle, and again, there's no way to name a right angle. It's the exact same way you would name any other angle. And then we have an obtuse angle. And an obtuse angle is an angle that measures between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Nope. Yeah. So 90 and 180 degrees. So an obtuse angle is going to look like, this is going to be a pretty wide angle. And it has still the curved thing, just like the acute angle. The only one that's going to have the square is a right angle. So if it is exactly 90 degrees, it'll have the little square. And again, there's no real proper way to name this. You would just name it the same way you would name any other angle. And then the fourth kind of angle, which isn't really an angle at all, is a straight angle, which is an angle that measures exactly 180 degrees. And that is just going to look like a line. So, it's a line. And I guess I can draw the little this thing, but there's no need to do that because that's a line. We call it a straight angle, pretend that there's like a point here, but it's a straight line, but can also be called a straight angle. And again, there's no way to name this one. All right, so then we have interior. Interior means inside an angle or figure. So like interior decorating means like decorating inside. So if we have the interior of an angle, it means the inside. So let's say I'll give myself a nice obtuse angle here. So this part right here is the interior. And there's no way to name an angle interior. I'm trying to think. Because, I guess the exterior isn't used often enough for there to be a distinct way of naming it. So typically when we refer to an angle, we're almost always referring to its interior. Occasionally we'll be referring to the exterior, but not often. So exterior is outside an angle or figure. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it, Ooh, wait. Goodness. Let me just undo this. Sorry. I did not know it would do that. So I would like to cut this. Yeah, okay, that worked. Okay. Okay. And I will attach that. Okay. The exterior is this part here. So, like I said, we will very rarely refer to the exterior of an angle. If you were seeing the exterior of an angle in a problem, they would specifically say exterior instead of like labeling it some sort of way. So there's no like way to name it. Let's see. Continuing on, we have congruent angles. Two or more angles that have the same measure. So this means that two angles that are the same degrees, maybe like if both of them are 35 degrees, they're congruent angles. And how am I going to draw this? I will do, so actually what I'm going to do is I have one angle, then I have another angle. I could have just copied and pasted that, but I didn't. And you put that little thing on the inside. And just like with the lines, when we were talking about congruent lines, I can do the same thing with angles. So if I have just one thing on the inside, it means these angles are the same. But if I have two of these on the inside, then that means that these are the same angle. So if you see two of these little markers on the inside, that means this angle measures the same as this other one that has two markers. But if you see just one on the inside, that means that it measures the same as the other ones that have just one on the inside. Congruent angles, I will name these. Let's see. This is A, B, C, and this one is D, E, F. So I'm going to say angle A, B, C equals angle D, E, F. That way I know they are congruent. And congruent means they have the same measure. They're equal to each other. So there we go, that's congruent. Now let's go on to adjacent angles. So adjacent angles are angles that share a common vertex and side, meaning that if one side of the angle is the same as one side of another angle, then they are next to each other. They will be next to each other. So what that looks like is something like this. Ooh, wait, that just straightened out. That was cool. I didn't know it could do that. So this angle is adjacent to this angle. And I put just one marker on the first one and two on the second one because I don't know if they're the same measure. So they don't necessarily have to be the same measure. They could as long as they're next to each other, they're adjacent. And naming it, there's no way to name adjacent angles, no specific way. Complementary angles. Hold on, let me Google this one real quick. I always mess it up. I always get it switched in my head. Okay, that's what I thought, okay. So, a complementary angle, or two complementary angles, are going to be two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So when you add their two measures together, you get 90 degrees. And typically, you are going to see complementary angles as adjacent angles. So something like there is, wow, this is nice. I didn't know it could do that. So there's a nice 90-degree angle. And I'm just going to say oh goodness. Okay. Oh, I wish that started at the corner. Okay. There it is. There, that's real nice. I like this feature. Okay. So these two angles, I made them out of a 90-degree angle. So obviously, they're going to add up to 90 degrees. So let's say that this is, maybe the smaller one is like 12 degrees. And then this larger one, well, if the first one was 12 degrees, that means the second one has to be 90 minus 12, which is 78. So this is 78 degrees. So these two angles are complementary. And again, no real way to name a complementary angle. I'm sorry if I'm going fast for you guys, but you know, this is a video, so you may pause it at any moment, take your notes, and just go at your own pace. Supplementary angles are two angles. Well, if complementary was 90 degrees, supplementary is 180 degrees. They're going to add up to 180 degrees. So what I'm going to do, and typically these are also going to be adjacent. So I'm going to start with a straight angle, also known as a line. And then, let's say I do that. So, I guess I should put the arrows there too. I will have the first one, let's say this measures 53 degrees. Then that means this larger one is going to be, I don't like that curve. This larger one is going to be 180 minus 53, which is 127. So this is 127 degrees. So with supplementary angles, one of them will be acute and the other one will be obtuse. With complementary angles, both will be acute. But supplementary, you have one acute, one obtuse. Or supplementary could also be two right angles because 90 plus 90 is 180. The way to name it, there's no way to name it. Okay, vertical angles are angles formed, or opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw two lines. So there's a line, and there's a line. Okay. Okay. So the vertical angles here are going to be this one and this one. So they are opposite angles, meaning that they are like on opposite sides there. So the reason I put just one mark on each of them is because vertical angles will always have the same measure. They are always going to be congruent angles. They will always have the same measure as one another, meaning that this first angle that I did here is going to equal this second angle here, and then I can draw another one here. This one has to have two lines because it's not going to be the same measure, but this one is going to equal this one. So they are vertical angles. And naming them, again, no real way to name them. Oh, and this is the last vocab word. Wow, this was quicker than I thought. Finally, we have adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are angles formed by intersecting lines, or there are adjacent angles formed by intersecting lines. Oh, the word is a linear pair. I'm sorry. A linear pair is adjacent angles formed by intersecting lines, or their non-common sides are opposite rays. I'm trying to think. Their non-common sides are opposite rays. Yeah, okay. So basically, what this part means, the second part, the non-common sides are opposite rays. Remember, opposite rays form a straight line. So that's basically like saying, which one was it? The supplementary angles. So a linear pair would be the supplementary angles. They're going to add up to 180. And a linear pair will always add to 180. So vertical angles equal one another. Linear pairs add to 180. So what I'm going to do is I will have a line. And then I have another line going through it. I'll make this line go a bit more. Okay. So here is another picture. It looks pretty much the same as vertical angles, but the linear pair is going to be the two angles that are next to each other. So for example, this angle and this angle are the linear pair. The linear pair is the pair of angles that adds up to 180 degrees. So if you ever see that like two angles form a linear pair, they add to 180. It means they are supplementary angles. And if you see that they are vertical angles, they have the same measure as one another. So I believe, so even though this is a linear pair that I have labeled here, another linear pair can be seen right there. Or, actually, you know what? I am going to label some points here. I'm going to call this middle. I'm going to call that O. And then I will call this K. and I will call this L, and I will call this M, and this one will be N. So even though there's like no real way to name linear pairs specifically, I can say that angle KOL and angle LOM are a linear pair. I can also say the exact same thing about angle LOM and angle MON. They're also a linear pair. I can also say the exact same thing about MON and angle NOK. And I can also say the exact same thing about angle NOK and angle KOL. These four sets all form linear pairs with one another because they're all next to each other. All right, so now you guys are going to have an activity to do. It should be posted to Schoology, and I believe it is a PDF, and there's a Cami link. It's like the blue button underneath the PDF. So if you click on that, it will allow you to edit the PDF and like sketch on it and stuff like that. So you will be able to like fill in the blanks and type on it and just write stuff. So you definitely want to use your vocab words that we have been learning here in order to do that. But other than that, that will be your assignment for today. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.